He told him that he was still the same kind-hearted and beautiful man she fell in love with, and that everything that happened to him was not his fault. Sunjin looked at her and asked if she still loved him, even though he was a killer. Minsu told him that he was not a killer, that he was just a child, and that it was an accident. She said it was unfair for his father to put the blame on him for what happened. She told him that they would face whatever came their way together, that there was a bigger reason they met, and that it was not all a mistake. Minsu stood up and stretched her hand toward him, telling him to get up. Sunjin slowly got up, looked at her, and told her that he didn't want to lose her, that he wanted her in his life again. Minsu smiled and told him that she had never left, and that any problem they had they would face together. Sunjin promised her that he would not act like a coward again. They both smiled and went to the living room. They cuddled on the couch while listening to music, both happy to be in each other's presence again. That alone felt magical. Sunjin didn't want to let go of her. Even if it meant just sitting there in silence, being with her was enough. Realizing that it was already late, they decided to go to bed. They went into separate rooms. Minsu lay in bed thinking about Sunjin and everything they had talked about that night. She missed him so much. She wished she could go to him and spend the night next to him. Making up her mind, she got up from her bed and decided to go to his room. As soon as she opened the door, she was surprised to see Sunjin standing there, about to knock. They looked at each other, realizing how much they missed one another. Sunjin smiled and told her that he had come to check if she was sleeping okay. Minsu told him she was, and that she was on her way to ask him the same thing. They stood there looking at each other awkwardly. Breaking the silence, Minsu told him she was going back to bed. Sunjin told her he was going to as well. As Minsu turned around to close the door, Sunjin couldn't control himself. He held the door open, stepped into Minsu's room, grabbed her, and kissed her. He closed the door behind him while Minsu was still in his arms. He continued kissing her, pushing her onto the bed. As he lay close to her, kissing her, he stopped, looked into her eyes, and asked if he could spend the night with her. Minsu, feeling weak and wanting him closer, nodded her head and told him yes. The next morning, Sunjin lay in bed looking at Minsu, who was fast asleep in his arms. He caressed her face slowly, thinking about how lucky he was to have her. Minsu woke up, looked at him, and asked if he was okay. Sunjin told her that he was just thinking about how lucky he was. Minsu smiled and told him she was lucky too. Sunjin then told her that he was thinking of ways to get to his father, because if he found out about this, he was going to make sure he retaliated. Minsu held his hand and told him that they would face him together. As Minsu and Sunjin waited in the living room for Woobin, the door opened and he walked in, telling them they were up early. Sunjin went to him and told him that what he did was not cool at all. Woobin smiled and told him that he should stop acting all tough and be grateful to him. He looked at him and asked if they had fixed things. Before Sunjin could answer, Minsu walked towards them and told them that she had to go back to school and get ready for work. Sunjin looked at her and held her hand. Woobin exclaimed, telling them that he was happy they fixed things. Ignoring him, Sunjin told Minsu that he could drop her off. Minsu told him that it was not safe. Woobin volunteered to drop her off, but Minsu declined and told him that she had already gotten an Uber. She looked at Sunjin and told him she was leaving. She walked out the door and Sunjin couldn't keep his eyes off her. Woobin, curious, asked him how it went. Sunjin told him it was none of his business. Woobin told him that he was the one who brought them together, and he at least deserved to know if they were good. Sunjin told him that they were good, but he was now worried about his father, wondering if he was aware of his whereabouts. Woobin tapped his shoulder and told him not to worry. Sunjin, confused, asked him why. Woobin told him that he had made a deal with Sunjin's little sister. Sunjin, losing his patience, asked him what kind of deal. Wubin told him that Sun Jin's sister had to beg their father to let her spend time with her brother at his house and told him to dismiss the guards for the night, and their father had agreed. Sun Jin, already knowing the answer, asked Wubin where he spent the night. Wubin told him that he had to pretend to be Sun Jin so he could spend the night with his sister at his place. Sun Jin got furious.